Another big episode 375.
What's the significance of 375, or is it just like a nice like quarterly round number?
Just a nice quarterly round number. It's funny because I've been listening to the show and I'm on like episode 94, 95, somewhere in there.
Is it good? Is it still good? Is that like who's hosting the show at that point? Is this you and Tim?
It's just me and Tim, and we're in Todd's studios. Yeah, I'm on 95, and so we've been like basically since 90 talking about what a milestone it is to get to 100. And listening to it now, and I'm like, wow, 100. That was like
woo,
5
100
years ago.
You know what's so funny is like it's like how long is it going to take for me to catch Tim to be the second highest? It's going to take a while,
a long time. Yeah, I think Tim is probably in the 300 episode range.
So like basically, we're talking about like at our rate that we're going, which isn't every week. It's going to take me until like retirement.
Yeah. So you've got like 22 and then probably another 20.
I think I've outdone myself since then.
So
maybe
we did 300 to 350 and you did a quarter of those. That's probably
well, keep in mind, I think I did. Yeah, but I did 2 after the 22 because I did the April Fool's Day one. We're going to count that.
Yeah.
And then I came back and talked to you as a guest. On what number?
I don't remember.
I thought you for whatever you said you were a guest on 1 too, but like I thought your autism was so good that you were like 102, and I was like, dang man, like he's got it like off on the number. That's great.
No, I want to say you did. It was in like the early, the low 20s that you were a guest again, or maybe the high 20s.
I want to say no, it would have had to have been. I think it was like the late teens.
No, because I started on 22.
No. I mean, like in the year, like it had to have been like 2018 or 2019. Oh, yeah. I was still living in my place in like Scenic Acres in Calgary, and so that was then.
And then you were a guest when Tim and I were doing the show.
Oh, you're right. Okay, yeah. Sorry. I was a guest. Okay, I came back and Where's the Beef, which was
27, dumb. 53.
Buck's Farewell, right?
Yeah.
And then I did come back.
I
did Fool's. Coffee House Music.
Yeah, 128. I think then there was an episode that you were on way after that too. But
maybe. I mean, I don't think I did anything video related until after 300. I don't think I did anything video. I think we were doing Discord calls.
Yeah. So 25 and then like 10 to 15 in season 6. And then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24. So you're at probably you're up around 50. So
am I actually at 50 or can we celebrate when I hit 50?
I don't know. We'll have to go back and look at the season 6 stuff and figure out how many episodes he actually did and find the real number.
Here's what I think we should do. I think we should celebrate when I hit 52, which means that I have put in a full year's worth of content for you. I mean, because like we're not counting bonus episodes.
Actually, and when we get you to 54, oh no, because then Buck still. So we should figure out how many episodes Buck did in season 6 and as a guest.
Yes.
Figure out how many episodes you have,
so I can pass Buck in the standings.
Yeah, and then that will.
So I've got Tony beat. I must have Tony beat.
You're way ahead of Tony.
Way ahead of Tony. So fuck Tony.
Yeah.
Right. I can say that, right?
You can say that.
You're going to ban me because they love Tony because he plays nice. I'm not talking shit about Tony. I actually like Tony. Oh, Yo Chaco, Cena heel turn. Okay, put this on the screen here. Merlot. Cena heel turn, thoughts? Like the greatest heel turn of all time. Like hands down, it's Kino. Pure Cena. And get this, okay. I know you don't like wrestling, so I'm gonna acknowledge that, and I'm gonna just like plow right through that. But what I am going to say is that it's so well done. It's cinematic. He's given his last year, and I think he's going to extend it beyond the year, just barely. And I think that he'll have a babyface turn at the end to pull it all around. But it's this heel turn we've all been waiting for. And the writing is so good. It's so good. It's so good, in fact, that I talked to Sully because I'm coming back as a babyface soon.
Yeah.
I said to him, I was like, listen, man, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this thing apart. And I'm going to do Bizarro World Cena turn.
John Cena.
And so basically, the way he turned heel, I'm going to do the opposite of to turn babyface, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, he comes out and he's like, I've been in this business for like 20 years or 20 years. And like, I came out, you didn't like me. And so I changed. And then you did like me for like a little bit. Then I started winning and you didn't like me. And I kept winning and winning and winning. And I kept on, like, I kept all my like values and morals, and you hated on me and you treated me like crap, and you'd yell at me at the airport and you would tell me I suck and you'd hate on me and do all this kind of stuff. And, you know, he goes through this whole thing, and then he even shits on the people that like him. And it was beautifully done. And like everything about it is just, it's incredible. It's the best. It's some of the best wrestling promo work and turns that I have seen in my lifetime, and definitely in the last 25 years. 100%. It's the best thing in the last 25 years. And then the next thing I would say is that, so I'm taking that and I'm looking at that, I'm going, this is beautiful, and I'm going to flip it. So basically, instead of I was a baby face and I was doing everything right and you booed me, Don Chaco is going to come out and be like, I was a prick and you should have hated on me, but you still believed in me and you cheered me anyway. And so I may have lost everything, but I've gained everything because I gained you. Right? Like, this is, I'm fleshing this out. You guys let me know. But it is above Hogan at Bash of the Beach. Bold claim. Let's see how it plays out. Yeah. Bold Hogan at Bash of the Beach is one of the greatest of all time. It is the greatest of all time up until now. But listen, the way it was done, I really hate. I'm doing this in the pre-show, by the way. Like, we're doing this pre-show, so pollute the show. But think about it this way. Okay, Merlot, you probably watched this. You probably watched, at least you've watched the clip on YouTube. The way The Rock did it was perfect. The integration with Cody was perfect. The timing was perfect. The layup, like the lead up, was perfect. I don't love having Travis Scott there, but the more I think about it after the fact, I'm like, fuck it, throw him in. He's great. Why do I like it? Because I can't stand him. You want me to hate on the guy, and then you've got this like piece of shit rapper that doesn't deserve to be there. And every time I look at this heel turn, I'm going to see this like loser rapper and make me hate this even more, which is what you should want. You should want me to hate him. So Cody comes in, and The Rock is trying to turn Cody heel. Because there's this like moment of like Cody Rhodes, who's the current champion, and he's the son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes by the name The American Nightmare, Dusty Rhodes. And he's the most over babyface. And he's the new toy that has taken over as the favorite babyface to John Cena. And so it's set up perfectly. John Cena wins this Elimination Chamber match, and so he ends up being the guy that they're going to have in WrestleMania against Cody Rhodes. So it's going to be babyface versus babyface, right? Well, we don't know yet, because The Rock has been, because Dwayne Johnson's a piece of shit. Yeah. Like, he's actually a piece of shit. And we all know this, and he's actually like director of the company, so it actually works really well. And he's also like in Hollywood, and he did like the whole Hawaii Maui thing or whatever. And he's just like a piece of shit. So he comes out and he plays a heel, and he's great at it because he's a piece of shit. And he's got Travis Scott with him, who's an even bigger piece of shit. So it's perfect. So he comes out, and the whole thing that he was playing out to Cody Rhodes before is like, you're gonna side with me? I can make your dreams come true. He's playing the devil. And he says to him, all I want from you is I want everything. I want your soul. And then he says to him, and this line is, oh my, it's so good. It's art. He says to him this, he goes, if you say yes, then the American nightmare will live on forever. Right? So that's his name. That's his gimmick. But if you say no, the dream dies again. Okay, so he says the dream dies. His dad, Dusty Rhodes, his name was the American Dream. His dad's dead. He just said to him, like, that again, and that pause, chef's kiss. So good. So John Cena comes out, and he gets the promo of his life in front of a Brussels crowd. The Brussels, Belgium crowd they don't get these kind of shows very often. So it was electric. And he cuts this amazing promo about, like, you guys take and you take and you take, and I've been giving and giving, and it's never enough for you. And like, you've been asking for this from me. And the other thing was, all these people had this speculation going into it that he was going to change his music and change his look and do all this other. Yeah, I'm sorry. Look, we got some time. We'll start the show. We start early in my time. All right. So, I'll wrap this up. But he says to him, everybody was like speculating. Is he going to have new music? Is he going to have new gear? He comes out with the exact same music, exact same gear, doesn't change a single thing. And that's what makes the people hate him even more, because they've been waiting for this heel turn forever, and he hasn't changed a single thing. He just comes out and he's the same gear, same hat, same look, same song. And he's like, I'm not changing my music. That's me on that music. That music is my legacy. That's my song. I've earned that. It's so good. I love it. So anyway, yeah, it's good. It's inspired me. It's not inspired me enough to pay to watch WWE again, but I'll watch the clips. So anyway, we should get this show on the road.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right then.
I'm not prepped with the fake ad. I've been busy.
This episode is brought. This episode of Here's What I Don't Get is brought to you by Hike something or other security cameras, spotting weird shit time and time again when you least expect it.
Hello and welcome back to Here's What I Don't Get, from north to south, east to west, the only intercontinental podcast to tackle all of life's toughest issues and the longest consecutively running podcast on the See You Next Tuesday podcast network. I am your host, Tad Burt, coming to you live from the most dangerous city in America, St. Louis, Missouri. And joining me today from way down south, it's becoming fall there here in a couple of weeks. It's your friend, El Chaco.
Hola, bienchada. Man,
yo,
we're on a Wednesday now. Yeah, that's my wrestling reference for a month. For any of you who are just audio only and you want to know, you want my take on the John Cena heel turn, go give yourself an extra, like, what, freaking 20 minutes? Is that what it was? It was a long time. No, it was 10, 15 minutes. Go back and watch the beginning of the YouTube channel thing and you'll get that. And yeah. I'm sorry, there will be no more wrestling for the rest of this episode. I promise.
Oh, it's been a couple weeks since we recorded. It's been a busy couple weeks for me. We had a glass conference at the studio I work out of last weekend.
Is that where I saw that artwork with the like wood?
No, that was something I made last weekend. No, so 2 weeks ago now that they brought in a bunch of like world-class glass artists from around the country and around the world actually, and basically like just set them free in our hot shop and ask them to make cool stuff. And so I just stood around for the entire day on Saturday watching these like really, really, really incredibly skilled artists making really, really big and awesome stuff. And then getting to like talk and chat with them and ask about making stuff and processes. And it was tremendously amount of fun. I was like, when they announced that it was happening, I took off work for the Friday so that I could go like do all of it. But it was also really weird because normally in our hot shop, I'm like I think my instructor is 6'3", I'm 6'2", and I think the studio gaffer, if he's not my same height, he's only like 6'1". So usually when I'm in the hot shop, I'm usually the tallest person in there. A bunch of the artists they brought in were like fucking giants. It was disturbing. Like the headliner artist Martin is I think he's 6'8". I mean, when I was talking to him, I was actually physically having to look up to talk to him, and I was like, "This is what it's like when other people talk to me, isn't it? I don't really like this." And his assistant was like 6'4", and a bunch of the other artists that were there were really tall. And then I ended up having like a weird nightmare of all these giants coming for me on Sunday night.
It's so weird, man, because like, see, I'm 6 feet tall, right? I'm 6 feet and like half an inch. Where are you gonna go with that? No biggie. But like, I know I'm over 6 feet tall, and it's weird because I'm like mid tall, like in a concert I can see, right? And down here I'm like upper end, kind of tall. But they're still taller than me, people, but I'm like taller than most. And yet, when I'm around a 6'8" person, generally speaking, it's like, geez, like where do they make you? And like,
yeah.
And like, it's funny because like I have my brother is like 6'4", I think he's like 6'4". My dad's like 6'2", and so I'm like the short guy.
Yeah.
At 6 feet, but I'm not short like that. Like, I'm not actually short. I'm like, actually, it's like a comfortable height. But like, what's interesting is like, I've been around enough tall people to know that when I met Owen Benjamin in real life, I was like, you're full of shit. You've said you're like 6'7" or 6'8". There's no way you're more than 6'4".
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you're more than 6'4". That is a lie. One of your many lies. And because I know 6'4", I'm around 6. My brother's 6'4". I look at the photos and it's like, yeah, it's like the same height difference as me and my brother. And I've been around a guy who was actually 6 foot. I think I met somebody who was 6'9" once in the wrestling business, and like, that's like freakishly large. That's like too large. That's just like, I'm sorry, sir. We're gonna have to put you in the circus. It's not your fault, but like, we can't have you in society.
Yeah, I'm amazed when I meet people taller than me because I know I'm not like on the crazy end of tall. I'm in that healthy mid range tall thing, but
you're like, make your woman feel safe tall.
Yeah, and I run in like there's things that I run into that are like become problems. Like I've talked about it 100 times that I hate flying because I just like don't fit in the seats well. And then I meet these guys that are even taller, and I'm like, how do you even function in our world?
Oh, dude, imagine like Sully.
Yeah,
dude's like 6'4", but he's also like over 400 pounds. Like that's a tough one.
Yeah,
and it's like not all fat. Like he's got broad shoulders. Like, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then last week I went and visited my mom. I was just drove down for a few days, and she in her porch she had all this driftwood lying around, and I don't really know why, but I saw a couple pieces that I thought were neat, and so I decided to take some when I came back. And so Sunday when I was working, I took a piece and soaked it in a bucket of water for a couple of days, and then I blew a bubble of glass onto it and then cut the top off and brought it back to a polish. So now there's this vase that's on the side of this piece of driftwood. And I posted a picture of it in Discord, but now I wish I had stolen a lot more pieces of driftwood because I really want to do more of those.
Well, just you're gonna have to return. And
get more. Or I'll wander down to the Mississippi River and find some
you
stuff.
Can do that too. Yeah, you can do that too. Man, do you want me to get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Why this episode is called this, what it is. I actually gave you this title before I kind of like really did some deep dive on this. But if you're a follower in the Discord, like, my cow died.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it sucks. I've come on the show. I've had like sheep die. I've had like lambs die. Nothing like this. This is about to get wild. So Thursday, March 13th, I'm in my office. It's about 9:30 in the morning, maybe 9:15, 9:30 in the morning. My daughter comes running into my office and is distraught. And we had named this cow Buttercup, which is a cute name. I like that name. It's a great name.
Mm-hmm.
Buttercup is dead. What? Yes, Buttercup is dead. How? So I go out to go see. My wife's over there, and sure enough, laying in the field is our cow, not moving, not breathing, is dead. And it was tied to the pole. Like, so it's the way they do it is they tie it around the horns, not around the neck, tied around the horns. It's laying there, and it's weird because I'm like worried. I'm like, okay, my dog would be, normally like kind of freaking out or sniffing at it or doing something like that. My dog's just kind of laying next to it and not doing what normally a dog would do around a dead animal. And there's no vultures. So I'm like, okay, like I'm working. This sucks. I'm going to call my employee. He's down in town. He needs to come back and I need him to deal with this. Like I need him to deal with this. And it's like, like he's already like well schooled on like how to like process a cow. So if the meat is still edible, let's salvage what we got and let's figure this out. So he comes about 10:15, gets his son, they come and they get the truck and they take it and then they dissect this thing. And he decides, no, you can't eat this, and neither can the dogs. We're going to bury it. It's like, dude, like that's a lot of meat. That's a lot of waste. And I'm like, what happened? Did it like eat poison? Was it bit by a snake? Like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. I didn't find any bite marks. I didn't find anything. He cut open the stomach, looked in the stomach, and all it was grass. There wasn't a disease. There wasn't signs of cancer or anything underlying. The cow was super healthy that morning. I was sitting on my deck and drinking coffee, looking at this cow. I love looking at my cow. I liked having a cow, right? And then he cut. Apparently, like the smell was so bad, like so bad. But like again, like dead animal, bad smell. That's par for the course. But he's like, no, not like a rotting corpse smell. It was different. He said it was like burning garbage, like burning chemicals. I'm like sulfur? He's like, yes, like sulfur. It smelled like sulfur. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, so you just cut open its stomach? And he's like, yeah. And then I also cut open its neck. Because when I cut open its stomach, I didn't see anything. It was kind of weird. And it was like cutting open a lawn bag. But then like it hit him when he cut open the neck. And there was no blood. There was no blood. He didn't even have to wipe his knife off. That's not normal.
No. Nope. Unless
even
you're in Transylvania.
Exactly. Even after, it's like, okay, so like, like that's the kind of thing that gets the neighbors start to talk, right? That's where all of a sudden, like, everybody's like, well, you hear it's like, oh, they're talking about Louis Son, which is like a werewolf legend, or they talk about all these different things, like, oh, maybe a Chupacabra got it. And that's why we're naming on this thing Chupacabra. It's like when you look up every Chupacabra thing, it's like got a bite mark in the neck, and it's got its anus ripped out, and it's got its tongue ripped out. And it always happens at night. So, but I'm like, it didn't happen at night because I was watching that cow when I was having my coffee in the morning, and I remember him tying it up, and then I saw it before I went to my office. So he buries the thing on his property, and I'm like, okay, go back to work. And later that afternoon, I'm like, hang on. I'm thinking about where it died. And I've got security cameras. And I've got one that actually covers that area where the cow died. So I open this thing up and I start flipping through, and I'm like, okay, well, this is the time when we went out. And then I start backing it up 10 seconds. I'm like, screw that. It's not going very well. It's still dead there. So I keep backing it up. And I find the part where it dies. And I watch the video, and I've sent you the video.
Yeah.
But when you watch the video, the first time I watched it, I was like, oh man. Because I see the cow is tied up, gets spooked by something, runs, falls dead. But the camera is kind of weird. I mean, it's I'll be fair. It's a 7, I don't know if it's a 1080p or 720p. It's a security camera. It's supposed to detect movement, right? And you can see in this thing that there were 2 other animals there, 2 other creatures there. And one of them looks like a giant rabbit or a greyhound or something. And it just bolts through the grass. And then, okay, so this thing takes off first. And then right a second later, my cow runs and basically looks like it's sliding into second base, and then it's done. And then there's this black thing in there too, and it merges out and it runs and it follows the white thing, and then they go off the camera. And I'm like, okay, maybe those stray dogs, right? Stray dogs. But I watch this thing, and it's weird, because the thing is, they cut through grass. And see, the reason why we put the cow in that pasture that day was because it had been a while and the grass had gotten pretty darn tall. And in this one spot, we're talking grass that comes to my shoulder at 5 feet and comes over my head at 6 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching this video, and I'm seeing these creatures clear through this grass that I would lose my daughter in. And so they go off, and I'm like, well, that's weird. So I got this thing on my phone, and I can play back and I can record the thing. But then I go and I sit back down again. I'm like, okay, weird. So what I decided was what I'm going to do is I'm going to see, where did these things come from? When did they enter my property? And they don't on first glance, you're like, oh, maybe they're just dogs. But they're fucking huge dogs. And here's something I know, is that I know all my neighbors don't have dogs that are big. Not a single one of them. I would know if they had a big black dog and a big white dog. I would know. We would all know. And then stray dogs, dude, I've seen all the stray dogs in this area, and they are skinny, pathetic, and mangy. My dog kicks their ass every time. My dog was asleep in the quincho in the patio, didn't react when this went down. So I go in and I sit down in my office, and I'm like, okay, I've seen the moment of death for this thing, but I should probably track it back a bit. And so I did. And I went back about 20 minutes, and I see this thing, the white thing, emerge on my camera, on my video. I see it come out of this portion of the forest where the original owner of this property used to have a house long ago, in the 80s. I don't know if that matters. It might. I will say this, and again, take it for what you will. That cow is the only animal on my farm that I hadn't sprinkled holy water on. I did it on my ducks, and I did it on my chickens, and on my dogs, and my fish, my pig, and even my garden. Because the Epiphany in January 6th, I got holy water, and I did that. And weeks later is when I got the cow, and I just didn't even think about it. So the only thing that hadn't gotten sprinkled with holy water just happens to be the dead animal that went down. So I'm watching this video of this thing, and I'll throw it in the Discord. I'll throw it in the Discord later. You can watch it yourself. It's a little far off, so bear with it. But you can see something comes in from the right, and it's white, and it's kind of hard to distinguish what the heck it is. It moves a little weird. And then it goes into the corner of the thing, it goes into the pasture, and it sort of takes like a blocky black and white cow shape. And you watch this thing, and it's like mimicking a cow. And my cow seems to think this, because for like 8 to 10 minutes straight, my cow stops grazing and is fascinated by whatever is going on the other side of the pasture. It's just looking at this thing, and it's moving around, but like kind of hovering and weird. And again, it could be camera artifacts. I'm not crazy. You can see it for yourself. But it's really weird. It looks a lot like a cow. And it looks like it's grazing with its back turned to it. And the other cow that I've got, is not used to having another cow in the pasture. It's our only cow. And like, I've seen how my cow interacts with like dogs and well, dogs, like mostly my dogs. But like, this was different. Like, this thing was like alarmed. And anybody who's been around cows knows that cows are kind of hard to get the attention of. They're like really dumb. Like, to get a cow's attention and to keep a cow's attention, very difficult. It's not like you can clap at it and try to call it over. It doesn't really work that much. Sometimes if you shake some food or something, maybe, but not like this. So this goes on for like 10 minutes. And then finally the cow is like, okay, fine, I'm done. Like, I'm just going to go back to eating. A little weirded out by this. Goes to back. And then this white thing goes over by like one of our trees. And it's like hovering around there for a while and just kind of being weird and not easy to like identify. And then it starts to make a move towards that long, tall grass, like it's going to come across. And just as it's going there, right by the tree, out comes another creature. And it's all black. And it's like impossible to distinguish what you're looking at. It just looks like a shadow. It like moves like smoke. It moves like a shadow. It goes to the end of the thing, and then it materializes, and it looks like a panther. And it moves like a panther. I know I sound batshit crazy, but I'm going to send you guys you'll see the thing. And you'll be like, okay, you can explain it away. I'm telling you, this is the weird. I feel like that lady on that like airplane, like, I'm telling you right now, that guy ain't real. You know, like, that motherfucker ain't real. That's how I feel about this. This is how crazy this gets. So the white thing starts making a move over. The black thing starts making a move over. And it looks like a panther at one point, looks like a jackal at one point, looks a little bit like a bear at one point. It goes behind the thing, comes around. The cow is starting to see what's going on over here. And then that's when the moment happened where white thing jolts back out the other way. Cow runs, falls, and dies instantly. Black thing follows behind, and it's massive. And when I've done screenshots of that same tree that they were standing next to, I've got screenshots of me and my employee at that same tree, and I'm 6 feet tall, and you'll see how big this fucking thing is right next to me. I don't put them right next to each other, and you'll see that ain't no dog. I don't know what it is, but it ain't no dog. It ain't no dog. And the weirdest thing too is if you watch my cow, it could just be artifacts. It could be long grass, but the thing runs and it falls weird. Looks like it's trying to slide into second base, and it disappears for like 2.5 seconds on the video. I'm not talking about lost frames. I'm talking about the cow goes away for like 2.5 seconds. And when you stop it down and you're like, that's 15 frames of no cow. And then it materializes back in a little bit of a different frame. Again, it probably is just the camera, and I am sounding crazy. But then I sent it to some friends. I've shown it to some other people, and they're like, dude, this thing is eerie as hell. I'm like, yeah, good choice of words, because this is really weird. And so my friend sends it out, and he sends it to some other people that are big into this thing, like the Skinwalker Ranch and all this kind of stuff. And they're like big forensics guys. So I'm going to read to you what my friend sent me upon this, just to read you what he said to me. He goes, "Yeah, that video was so weird. The guy literally wanted to get on a plane and physically examine the site. And then I told him it was Paraguay. Laughed my ass off. And he goes, dude, I just got this back from the guy." And he quotes him. He goes, "I ran it through 2 different color spectrums, an X-ray and a negative. I also did a frame by frame, and the cow absolutely disappears. There's a lot of anomalies I found. And I also did a Zoom with L.A. Marzulli, who apparently is some like documentarian about paranormal and does like Nephilim stuff and all kind of this kind of stuff. But this is his wheelhouse, apparently. Mm-hmm. I'm not vouching for him. I'm interested to see what their analysis of the video is because they're going to do it." And he's like, and he is also perplexed and has never seen anything like it. "I would like to make a video on it and go over this on the channel. And L.A. Marzulli also wants to cover it together. I don't even know that anything like this has ever been caught on camera before. This is the type of footage we've been waiting for. And even the whole Skinwalker Ranch series hasn't captured this yet, or they're not showing it. Literally nothing like this has ever been caught on camera before." This was at 8:30 in the morning.
So are you going to go promote the show on their show?
No. Damn. I want to stay anonymous. You guys are my people. If they find this, good on you. But you're my guys. I'm telling you because I trust you. You can think I'm a nutter, but I'm going to put the thing I'll put the thing in the Discord. And you guys can make your own decisions about it. Because it's messed up.
Yeah.
And so I've gone out. We buried St. Benedict medals at the place where the cow died, where I saw the things come in at my gate. I already had them around my property, but I put down exercise salt. I put down holy water, said prayers consecrated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And I felt peace afterwards. Like, I'm not scared of this thing. I will admit, though, on Sunday dinner, like when my friend came over, normally we, have a friend over, and at the end of the night, I walk him to the gate so he can go out with his motorcycle. I close the gate and I walk back home by myself through the dark.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I had done that since this had happened. And it was like, yeah, I got to be a man about this. I can't be like pussy about this. I can't be like, here,
Kevin Hart about it.
What does that mean?
Kevin Hart's a huge pussy. and tells in one of his stand-up specials, he talks about like taking the trash out on his big like plot of land and how scary it is at night.
You know what? Like I that's not about this because this is my land.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. So I've talked about Father Ripperger before. I've talked about like exorcists before. And what they always say is that demons get real aggressive when they're about to be evicted. And I got my documents, and my neighbors are about to be evicted soon.
Sweet.
And the father of the guy that I am kicking out used to have the house right where these things came out. And I went over there and going to check, and I buried a Benedict medal over there too. But it's weird. I've got orange trees. I never really paid attention. And it's weird that my employee never told me that there used to be a freaking house in this one spot. Like a 2-story house. And like, I go over there and he's like, yeah, that's where the bedroom was. I'm like, you mean where the dead orange tree is? Like there's like a dead orange tree. He's like, yeah, and I couldn't get any of the watermelon to grow over here or the mandioca to grow here. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, why am I finding about this for the first time? And this property pretty much killed this guy because his son made him like co-sign on a loan, and then he buggered off to like the Chaco region and didn't make any payments. And so the dad got like all these calls from the bank, threatening calls from the bank, and the stress killed him. And then the family came back and sold the property to the guy that I bought it from. And now I'm kicking this other person off. And that family over there is like, just like a pool of sin, like just 4 generations of born out of wedlock and drugs and all kinds of stuff. So they're about to go, and the demons are like, you know what? Like, that was our portal right there.
Yeah.
And I got one way to say. God's like, I'm going to let you. Okay, I'll let you pester this guy, but I've got conditions. Right? You can pester this guy, but I've got conditions. All right. I'm going to let you pester him. You can only hit the one thing that he didn't bless with holy water. And you got to do it in broad daylight. And you got to do it in front of his camera. And he's going to smarten up because it's Lent. And he's going to get his acting gear.
Yeah.
And that is one of the weirdest fucking stories I've ever told on this show.
I will vouch for that as well.
What was your take when you saw the video of the thing? Like, you can tell me I'm an idiot. Like,
I'm an ardent skeptic. So my thing is just like, it's a shitty camera. I don't know.
How does that explain the no blood?
A wolf. I don't have any explanations, but I try and find a rational one before
I was trying. I've been really trying to get the like rational explanation.
The no blood could be because depending on how long it was laying there, the blood drained to the bottom.
Okay, but why didn't I see any blood drain out when we cut it open to the bottom?
Yeah,
like not a drop.
I don't have any answers for you.
Like he cut through the thing and he didn't even have to wipe off his knife.
But it's different than like a live beast when you like cut its throat and it still has hydraulic pressure.
Go ahead. I want you to look up. I've sent you the video of the cow's stomach being cut open.
Yeah.
Right. Then go on and look up like cow stomach at like a butchery. And you'll see that a lot of them, even after they've been butchered and processed, still have like red cells around the outside of it. This one didn't. It's like all white and green. And the green is just the grass.
Yeah.
I also have a video of this
emptying out. It did look like emptying out a grass clippings bag.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I've also got another video. I don't think I sent it to you.
Like a shocking amount of grass that was not digested.
My wife took a video of it, and basically when they turned it over, it was just off-gassing like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess with all the grass that like wasn't like digested, but like she did a close-up of it, and while it was off-gassing like crazy, out of the nose is just snot, like crazy amounts of snot bubbles. And again, no blood, no nothing. They dragged the thing, no blood, no scratches. Like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's weird. And like, if you watch the beginning of the thing and you watch the like way that like these things arrive and you see it could be just camera being weird, but it's like, I don't know, man. Like, you have to understand how much ground they covered. You have to understand how tall that grass is. Like, you have to see what my dog looks like in it next to them. And my dog's not small.
Yeah.
Right. So it's either like a freaking bear or panther that apparently attacks in twos with one black and one white. I don't have an explanation.
Well, it's Paraguay is on the cutting edge of racial harmony.
The homogeneous place. So enough about our. Well, actually, I'll leave you. Oh, go ahead.
I was visited by a cryptid this week as well. Yeah, it was a group of 3 future scholars rifled through my car on early Tuesday morning, late Monday night.
Wow, astronauts! And
yeah, I forgot to lock my car, and I went to go. I didn't put any Coke Zeros in the fridge this week, and so I had today off, and I was like, I really want a soda, but these are all warm. I'm gonna run to Quick Trip and I'll get a soda.
At least one of the creatures in my video is white. The other one was.
And so I get in my car and like I have business cards in my door pocket and they're all like in the seat of my car. And then I look and I realize that I have my box of glass color is open and it's not, and another box that was in the back seat is in the wrong spot.
So they didn't know what to make of this stuff, right?
Yeah. So then I pull the camera footage and go look through, and it's like I see 3 guys, 3:04 a.m. into my street, just walking down, testing door handles.
3 a.m., huh?
Yeah. And didn't take anything out of my car, just kind of, they never looked in the back, which is where the tools were. I'm also really, really, really happy because I just rented a locker at the glass studio to store all my glass tools. So that locker just paid for itself. But
that's amazing.
I found that this afternoon, and then went and talked to my neighbors because they have cameras directly across the street. See if they have like a better footage of these guys. They'll never be caught. The police won't actually give a shit. But if I see someone outside my car on my street again at 3 a.m, they're getting gunshots thrown in their direction.
Which they would deserve. I remember that St. Louis couple during like a BLM thing. That was like that went memeable. Like you could be that guy. You could wear that suit. You could wear that. You could pull off that drip. And,
they were wearing orange latex gloves too. So you know they were up.
You would have thought like because they're trying to blend in. Maybe they wear like those like hipster like black meat gloves, like that you see on all the YouTube channels whenever they're showing you how to make a smash burger.
That's what I have upstairs. Are black
is the meat gloves?
Well, yeah, they're the cheapest ones. I alternate between black, purple, and blue, just whichever one is like. Because one will be $6.99, and one will be like $6.60, and I'm like $6.60. It is.
I think this might be one of the longest lead-ins to an issue we've done in a long time. But I think I did it. I don't know. I'm not seeing a lot of comments, so I've either pissed off people or they're like rolling their eyes at how lame Chaco is. I'm telling you, I'm going to put the thing in the Discord and you guys can see it later. But I'm going to do it right now. I'm just going to do it right now while we're talking, so that at least then, if you guys are, listening and you want to see, this is it. Okay, I'm putting it in here. You're gonna see the full video right here. Where are we at? So I can move on because I got to get into issues.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that wraps up our segment of unsolved mysteries.
Yeah. This
will load. This joke will be very funny.
Ghostbusters.
No, it's not Ghostbusters. I'll edit this and it'll be great.
Well, is it the Robert Stack like unsolved mysteries thing?
Yeah, I don't know why it's not.
That show's so good. This is. I would be able to get money for this if I wasn't in Paraguay.
Is the soundboard not?
There it is.
Was it a Chupacabra? Is it a bad camera? You have more information.
Just on hallucinogens at 8:30 in the morning on a Thursday.
Anyway, well, I don't know why the sound.
I love how the comments just dried right up.
Well, do you want to do your regular issue?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to blast through it so that I don't piss anybody more for you all. All right, here's what I don't get. Musicide. Musicide is the death of the muse. After our last recording, Tab and I, we like to hang out after for a while. And I don't know, how did it come about? But we were talking about like,
I made a claim on the show that 1999 was like the last year that there were good movies.
I think you're right. And I honestly think it was like, if it wasn't the death of the muse, it was the start of a massive decline.
Yeah.
Because after that, we got just inundated with sequels and reboots, and that's all we have now. So let's back it up a bit. I hope everybody knows about the concept of a muse, but we'll just kind of blast through it real quick. Tab, you're in the arts. Why don't you tell us what is the muse?
So muse is something that inspires you to make art. It's usually like then reflected as a person, like the beauty of this person makes you then try and replicate the beauty in whatever art form it is you're pursuing, sculpture, painting, woodworking, whatever.
Yeah, and like sometimes like people are muses for other people. Like just their personality alone is like, wow, this person's so fascinating. But they couldn't write anything if they wanted to. So I'm going to like write about it myself or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And write about this person. And like, there's like legend about this. I mean, we're talking about like, we're going all the way back. We've got like, like the Greek plays, the Greek tragedies. You got Shakespeare. You got all these kind of things. Like the concept of the muse has been around for a very long time. But the key thing is, did I freeze? Are we?
No, you're still going.
Okay. Yeah. I froze on my end. Something happened, man. Okay. If we go back, while I'm talking to you, why don't you pull up movies, like Hollywood movies from 1999, just so we can kind of really hammer home here how amazing peak everything was in 1999. And it's interesting because I don't know how many of you guys have seen The Matrix. I hope all of you.
Yeah.
I hope all of you have seen The Matrix.
The top 10 movies of 99: Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, The Sixth Sense, Toy Story 2, Austin Powers' Spy Who Shagged Me, The Matrix, Tarzan, Big Daddy, The Mummy, Runaway Bride, and The Blair Witch Project.
Was that 99 or was that 2000?
No, okay. That's 99. It was probably like a Christmas movie.
When was The Matrix then? Did you list it off in there?
I doesn't have the date in that list, but I'll go find it. I think it's like April.
Because like we also had like Fight Club, and we had like American Beauty, and we had like it was a great year of movies. I'm pretty sure it was 1999.
Yeah, March of 99, The Matrix.
Okay, and like in the movie The Matrix, when they're talking about what The Matrix did to people is that they, not arbitrarily, they chose 1999 as the year to put everybody in because they found that people didn't rebel against it as much. And if you really think about it, it's like the World Trade Centers are still there.
Mm-hmm.
Britney Spears is still hot. I don't know what else you got here. It's like movies are still good. Creativity's still around. But I saw this video about this and it really bugged me. It was like think about the 2000s. Okay. And if you see, like, if you watch The Office, for example, right? If let's say you watch any episode from The Office, which apparently was around for like 8 years. If you watch The Office, what's interesting about The Office is that aside from nobody having like smartphones for the first 5 years of the show, and aside from like the memes or the references, like they make like references that are dated in the thing, but like the fashion and like the look, it all blends together. Like if you look at something from 2004, 2005, you don't look at it and go, oh, that's clearly the aughts.
Yeah.
But if you look at something from like the 20s, you know, like Flapper Girls, the 30s, you got the Depression, the 40s, you know, it's a little bit more dapper. The 50s, you got women that are like, you know, hourglass figures and you got like brighter colors. You got the 60s, you got the hippies and the big bright colors. And, you know, like the skirts are getting a little bit shorter. And then you got the 70s and it's like long hair and like a lot of oranges and browns and whites and
everything becomes formless,
gross. And then the 80s is like brashly bright and neon and like big hair and shoulder pads. And like you can see a photo from the 80s and go, that's the 80s. And then the 90s, for the most part, you can be like, that's the 90s. But like, take a photo from the 2000s, the 2010s, the 2020s that we're in, and they all meld together. There's no distinction.
Yeah.
You look at the movies that come out now. It's like, woohoo, we're remaking Snow White. Woohoo, we're remaking RoboCop. Woohoo, we're remaking, you know, like all these different franchises. We're rebooting Harry Potter. We're rebooting, you know, like we're rebooting everything.
We're making another Indiana Jones movie. We're making another Terminator movie. We're making another movie in this franchise that should have died years ago.
And nothing is creative anymore.
Yeah.
It's dead. And on top of it, it's like, look at even like the tech. Okay. Like we've talked a lot about like AI. And yes, okay, great. Woo. Like you've brought up about AI on your phone and how it's like, I don't really need this. And it's like outside of that, it's like, man, I don't know how much of the audience like remembers like when the iPod came out, but that was a big freaking deal. Because prior to that, like MP3 players, you'd be happy if you could fit like 3 albums on it. And I remember like one, I was like, whoa, you can fit like 100 songs on this thing that looks like a Discman. And and it takes you a long time to put the files on. And you go into like Napster and stuff like that. It's like iPod changed a lot of things. Then the iPod was like, oh, okay, I've got this crappy phone and my iPod, and I put them together, and both my pockets are full, and now I only have everything in one pocket. And then after that, it's like it's a drop off. Like what? Like, oh, like my Fitbit? Is that the big drop now? Like what's the big tech thing that we're supposed to get excited about? Oh, you got that
rings
thing
that monitor your bio health.
Kind of lame though, in the grand scheme of things. Like it's like cool.
No, I like it. I like it more than the watch because it's completely non-invasive. Like I just put the ring on and it monitors my health. Sure. That's it. Yeah. As opposed to the watch thing where it was like, yeah, it does the health monitoring, but then it's buzzing you with notifications, and it's like, oh, you need to do this. You need to get up. You need to,
it's not like knocking my socks off. Like it's like a cool.
No,
thing.
It's not. It's a cool. Yeah, it's not like a game.
But like
video
games aren't knocking our socks off. It's like, oh no, it's like, oh, we got what are we at? Like PS5? You could have told me that we're at PS7. I don't give a shit. Like I mean, my kids like playing the Switch. They're putting on a Switch too, and I look at it and it's like it's the same thing, just like, with like slightly different dimensions. And who cares?
Slightly better graphics.
I don't care about the graphics. I care about the play of the game, and the games all suck.
All the games suck.
And like,
even
what are we doing here? I feel
a great example of this
time. Go ahead.
Is like Spider-Man. They made that Spider-Man game a few years ago, and it was awesome. It had like really good gameplay.
Spider-Man 2?
No, the first Spider-Man. It had like good gameplay. It felt good to play. It had this world. It looked good enough. And then they made a second one, and like there's a lot of graphical improvements, but they like.
Are we talking like Xbox? Like
no, I'm talking about on the PlayStation. It was a PlayStation 4 game, and then a PlayStation 5. 2 came out.
Because I'm thinking like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2, and that was like that knocked my socks off. That game was amazing.
I'm talking about in the last 5 years.
Okay.
There was one for PS4 and it was great. And then they made a second one and they just like ruined it. It looks better, but the gameplay is all worse. The story's not. I didn't like the story in the first one, but at least the gameplay was there. And this one, the gameplay got all walked back, and it was just like, what happened? How did you make a sequel to a game and somehow make every aspect of it worse?
And that's what we're doing. Eric says, evict the evil spirits, Chicago. I have. And my priest is coming out, and we're going to make sure we're like, this is battle time. Like but I'm telling you, I feel better about everything now. The very next day, I like went to like confession, got absolution. We're good. Everything's good. Right.
Yeah.
We're fine. I feel it. I know it's good. Okay. So going back to this, like, dude, like, I don't know, man. Like there was this like feeling of like, the future was going to be awesome. And I've talked about this before. We talked about like Back to the Future 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it never happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, one of the reasons why a lot of the good movies, like, okay, Fight Club, some people love it, some people hate it. But like, I get both feelings on it. But it was like,
it was saying something.
It was saying something. It was original. It was creative. And so the music side is death of creativity, right? And it's only going to get worse.
Oh, of course.
It's only going to get worse because the studios do not have the ability to take a risk anymore. They don't make any mid-budget things. They don't make any small budget things. They don't even bother.
Well, they also, it's because so many things are written by committee now. You know, you've got like executives saying, I like your idea for this like space TV show, but we need to have like a person in a wheelchair in it, and it needs to like address Black Lives Matter. And it's like, these are all fucking aliens, and they have, future technology. Why would someone be in a wheelchair? Doesn't matter. We need those things to be in here. And then you get these writers' rooms with like 8 and 12 people writing, and it's impossible to even have them use, because what 12 people are going to agree about anything, let alone something creative? They all want to get their little doodad in there. Whereas like before the 90s, so many things were the vision of one person. It was like, this is
like
my
Sid Meier, right? Okay, so think about like video games. Think about Sid Meier.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Excellent example.
Okay. Video games used to be made by one dude.
Yeah.
And it was always a dude. Like, find me one that was made by a woman. Sorry, just didn't happen. Okay. One dude. Sid Meier. He was so good at making games that they had to throw his name on it so you knew that that was sell it on its own. My favorite video game of all time is on the Sega Genesis, and it's Sid Meier's Pirates Gold.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I could pick it up at any time. It's so fun. The mechanics of it are great. The RPG portion of it is great. It's just perfect. And you'll never have a game like that again, right? You'll never have a game that is so good like that has a map that's historically accurate and like ships that are historically accurate and like you're wooing like governors' daughters to get information out of them and possibly marry them. Like you'd never have any of that. Like it's just like it's gone. And then on top of it, going back to it, it's like, yeah, I urge you all to go and look at the list of movies from 1999.
And then look at 2000.
And then look at 2000, and the drop off is so steep.
Yeah, we were looking at the list, and we got to like March of 2000, and it was like, it was like still leftover 99 stuff was still coming out in January and February, and then March hit, and it was just like, these are all dog shit. And you got to April, and it was like, these are all dog shit. These are all dog shit.
So bad.
But you go through this 99 list, and you've got like,
Saving Private Ryan and like Shakespeare in Love, and you've got like
American Pie, Arlington Road, The Blair Witch Project, Eyes Wide Shut, Lake Placid, Drop Dead Gorgeous, Deep Blue Sea.
All of those are good. Those are good bad movies too.
That's
the bad
July.
Movies are good.
That's just the month of July. The Iron Giant, Mystery Men, Sixth Sense, Thomas Crown Affair, Bowfinger, Detroit Rock City, Mickey Blue Eyes, The 13th Warrior, The Astronaut's Wife. That's August. Like there were so many movies that like I remember watching over and over and over as a kid or wanting to see, and they were quality. Good.
Yeah. Hit me with the Christmas hit me with December.
So November is The Bone Collector with Denzel Washington. That's
great
a great
movie.
Fucking mystery movie. Dogma, Sleepy Hollow, The World Is Not Enough, End of Days, Mansfield Park, Toy Story 2, Cider House Rules, Cradle Will Rock, Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo. Everyone loves that one. The Green Mile, Witness Protection,
tired, boss.
Bicentennial Man, Fantasia 2000, Stuart Little, Girl Interrupted, Any Given Sunday, Man on the Moon, Galaxy Quest, The Talented Mr. Ripley, Titus, and then the last movie of the year was The Hurricane,
which is also good.
And yeah, that's November, December. There were so many good movies that came out in 1999.
Those are all watchable, almost all. I mean, some of them are garbage, but that's amazing.
Yeah. No, that's the thing is there used to be these like mid movies, right? Where they weren't bad. It wasn't a B movie that you watch sarcastically, but it wasn't like a huge blockbuster or like just the most mind-blowing thing. It was a movie that if it came on a Saturday afternoon and you weren't doing anything, you'd leave it on and just be like, oh yeah, we can watch this.
If you're on a plane and you've got any of those in the classics section while you're on a plane today, I'd choose any of those over any of the movies that are out right now.
And those can't be made anymore. And so you're crediting it to the death of the muse. And I agree to an extent, but I also kind of disagree in that I don't think it's as much a death of the muse as it is creativity has become a career path, right? So you like me, I went and got an art degree in lighting and sound design, and then went out and into the world and became a theater technician. A really great example of this, and to blow my reference, is Gene Roddenberry. Gene Roddenberry, created this hugely influential TV show and a bunch of other TV shows that weren't hugely influential. But he didn't just like walk into Hollywood at 22 and go, I got this great idea for a show. It's about these fucking people on a spaceship and they're doing wagon train, but they're in space. He was a pilot. Like he was a pilot in I think post World War II, and then he was a pilot for Pan Am. He crashed like 2 planes. One of them was in the desert or some shit, and then he like hiked out of the desert for 2 weeks. and had a family and did all the and lived a life, got a lot of life experience, and then was like, I've got a great idea for a TV show. It's Wagon Train, but in space. And then he partnered with people who also had lives and who had life experience, and was like, let's write these stories. Let's reflect on humanity. Let's have a positive outlook on what the world is going to be in the future. And they made Star Trek, which is like, arguably one of the most influential television shows that's ever been made.
And that was a knockoff of Galaxy Quest, which we just brought up in 1999, right?
Yeah. And that is like the story of so many franchises in the 60s and 70s and 80s. It was like these guys in their 40s kind of were finally getting a chance to make something. And even someone like George Lucas, he was 30 when he made Star Wars in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so into the 90s, those people are still making it, but unless you're the Francis Ford Coppola's, the Steven Spielberg's, like you're not making these huge hits, and so you start to fade out. And instead of replacing them with more people in their 40s with life experience, they start replacing them with people in their 30s. And then you get into 2000s, now you have 30-year-olds who, they went to college and maybe they had a career, they worked in Hollywood, but they don't really have any life experience. They didn't raise kids, they didn't go work a dead-end job or serve in the military or do anything that they then interpret into being a new media. And now it's even worse, where you have these fucking 22-year-olds writing for Hollywood and telling you about how oppressed they are because they're women. And it's just like, you've never actually faced any adversity in your entire life. Like, you've never, Gene Roddenberry being this great example, because it's a lot more than just like, you've never sat there at the kitchen table and thought to yourself, how am I going to pay the bills this month? How am I going to feed my kids? You especially never fucking crashed a plane in the African desert and then to walk your fucking ass out of there with the passengers. I'm pretty sure it's a Pan Am flight. So it was like a passenger flight that he did this. Like that kind of thing doesn't happen. So you've never actually faced any true adversity. You've never struggled in your life. And so you have no way. I think pain creates art. Pain creates art. You have to have.
I sort of agree. And maybe that's my problem. Right? Maybe, okay, so I'm a writer. Yeah. And one of my favorite writers when I was in college was Kurt Vonnegut. Mm-hmm. And I remember reading about him, and I'm interested because you brought up about people not starting till their 40s or whatever. And I'm 45. And Kurt Vonnegut worked a writer job that was not satisfying, like I do. And he wrote, actually, his was more boring. I think he wrote instruction manuals for GE. Mm-hmm. And he did it for 25 years, and then finally kicked out of it and wrote what was in his head and got short stories published, and then went about doing that. And he needed to break free from what he was doing. And so I can see that. And I think right now it's pain does create it, but then at the same time, also does the ability to capture not just pain, but joy and appreciation of beauty. And I think that we've had that beaten out of us too.
That's been beaten out of us too. But that's also something that it takes life experience. You have to lose. You have to be kicked a bunch of times to understand when times are good and when times are bad. And you can't tell the difference when you're 22. And when you're 22, everything, and it's the, and
maybe some have actually been beaten by drug addict parents and have those people exist, right?
No, you're
I remember when I was doing the amateur stand-up cup stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I remember when I was hanging out with these people before shows and after shows, it was cutthroat and everybody was frenemies. And everybody was miserable. Stand-up comics are kind of the worst to be around. They come across as funny and you'd want to hang out with them. You don't. They suck. They're awful. And I remember I was in this and I was looking at them, and it was I couldn't hang out with them anymore. There was no way. I just couldn't spend my time with these types of people anymore. And I realized after the fact, I'm crap, I can't get into this. My parents love each other, and my family is supportive, and my life isn't shitty enough. Like that's just not my thing.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, though, that was in my 20s, my late 20s, but it was in my 20s. And then after the fact, it's like, yeah, I got into my 30s and I like left my country and went to another country, and I can't bring it up because I blow my reference. And then I came back to my country, and then like, my country turned into Crazyville, and then I left my country again. So now I feel like I have a little bit more stuff in the tank, like to get out. But I'm a little worried about it. But I'm also worried about it because the thing is like the AI side of things. I worry that like I'm gonna get lazy, and I'm gonna like try to like have AI help me. And then the problem is, and I'm gonna bring this in if we have time. If I don't blow through this like for another 4 hours of Choco talk, which I won't. I'm gonna wrap this up quick. But like, we might do a bonus episode after this, and I think I have a tie-in to this, which is like kind of the flip side of this. So I talked in the thing about a thing and how I'm about to do a thing, but do it in the opposite way. And again, because I burnt my reference, I won't say what it is. But that's my issue for tonight is the death of the muse, and I think it's concerning. And I think
that we are on the cusp of a cultural revolution. I don't know if that cultural revolution is going to come like in our lifetimes.
I hope you're right, man.
But
I really hope you're right.
I'm
tired of this. I'm bored. Aren't you bored?
I'm bored with it's content now. It's not art. No one's making
music is boring and crap. Movies are boring and crap. TV I don't even care about. Like my wife joked to me before I got on tonight, and she's like, because like when I come in here and I do this, like she just hangs out and does her thing, and sometimes sometimes doesn't. Clearly not, because she made a joke. She's like, oh, okay, great. I get to like sit and watch like YouTube, like meaningless, disposable YouTube stuff, and then go to bed. And I'm like, is that what you call my show? She's like, I totally forgot about your show. I'm like, I'm literally saying goodbye to you as I go to record this. But thanks. I'm glad you love the show. It's also good that she doesn't watch it all the time. It's fine.
Yeah.
But so that I want to. This theme will come back. This theme will come back.
I think there's definitely been a thematic in our discussions over the last year, and it's a lot of us has been talking about, and in our private conversations, we talk a lot about media and art, and from my side, a lot of that is me like finally embracing this.
Well, you've got the glass
part of myself that has always, I guess, longed to be an artist, and
it feels good to make art.
And figuring out like what that means, because I never thought about myself as an artist.
It's cool
working in theater my entire life. I was always like, I was an engineer. I was a technical side, and now to like really truly make like these pieces that are behind me are, they're a reflection of a grieving process, and that's something that I didn't even really realize until I was almost done making all of them. That I realized what I was doing was I was like, not personifying, that's not the right word, but personifying my grief into an object, objectifying my grief
that makes sense,
into a physical form. And then that was
it's healing. That's cathartic.
It was cathartic. And then like, I've done it with more pieces since then, where I've had other pitfalls, and then it's like, well, let me make something. I'm gonna make something to undo this.
Having a creative outlet is awesome. I'm so happy Sully came down here, right? Because he's got this thing going, and it gives me a chance to go out and emote.
And they're tearing down walls, man.
You saw that? It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. It means we're growing up in this world.
Yeah.
And I don't come back till May, so I've got all this time to like
lay low.
Not even just lay low, like figure out how I'm going to do this. Like I don't usually get this kind of time to plan. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be so awesome. But that's my issue.
Yeah, great issue.
No, thanks. It's probably repetitive. Probably like if you probably scan through, it's like, dude, you've talked about this like 5 times. But
that's our show. Fuck you.
That's what we're going to go with. At least I give it a different name. All right, so that's my issue. All right,
well, that brings us to the middle of our episode, which means it's time for. I didn't actually come up with a news.
Dead cow news. Dead cow news is is the craziest news that might not. Oh, no news joke. There we go. All right. Well, we don't have any dead cow news. I've already covered that in the earlier part. But this last week was St. Patty's Day, right?
It was also St. Gertrude's Day.
Yes. But there was a little incident on St. Patty's Day that made it into our news box here. Police, a mini horse had, quote unquote, a little too much fun on St. Patrick's Day. Police in Michigan put their cowboy skills to the test when they were called to round up a loose miniature horse that had, quote, had a little too much fun, unquote, on St. Patrick's Day. The Brownstone Township Police Department said the small equine was found wandering around a residential neighborhood Monday evening, spouting racial slurs. And no, he didn't say that. St. Patrick's Day brings out some wilder behaviors, so our night shift was on high alert for suspicious activity, the department wrote on social media. Well, look who they caught creeping around one of our subdivisions. Actually, yeah, maybe it was a miniature horse that went through rifling your stuff.
It was a miniature horse, but it was the front half and the back half were separate.
And this is what I love about this like weird news is like it just kind of ends here. It just says police shared photos of the mini horse on social media, writing, "This guy had a little too much fun on St. Patty's Day." I probably should have read this all the way through and seen if there was like photos to share, but yeah, let's imagine what the little horse's too much fun would be like. And this was in Michigan. So
bucked off a little cowboy.
Yeah, he bucked off short sleeve Samson, and he unfortunately he got canceled because the horse was spouting off racial slurs, and like to a racial group that not many people think about that much. Filipinos. Like he was like running off on like a bunch of like Tagalog stuff. It was offensive to Filipinos. So not Filipinos. We're going to now move over to a different Asian group. China couple's quest for a son leads to 9 daughters, all named Dai, which is Chinese, or D, which is Chinese for brother. Their father, now 81 years old, gave all the sisters names that end with D, meaning brother. In Eastern China, a couple has made headlines for having 9 daughters, all of whom share a unique naming convention. Each of their names includes the Chinese character D, which meaning brother. This unusual choice reflects the family's traditional desire for a son, a preference still prevalent in rural areas, and the story has gained significant attention on Chinese social media. The 9 sisters, spanning a 20-year age gap, grew up in a village, blah, 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 blah. I don't need to go over that. Okay, so the first daughter's name was Xiao Di, which means soliciting a brother. Mm-hmm. The second one was Pandi, which is looking forward to a brother. Then there was Wang Di, which is looking forward to a brother, also signifying that. Then there was Xian Di, which is thinking of a brother. And then Lai Di, which is brother coming. And Ying Di, which is welcome a brother. Nyan Di, which is missing a brother. Chao Di, which was hating a brother. And the 9th one was Meng Di, which is dream of a brother. Chao Di is a little sassy in there. That is that's a little harsh.
20-year gap between the eldest and the youngest.
Yep.
And the dad is 81.
Now it's not like they're like babies now.
Oh, they're grown adults. I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is that's the kind of the way I feel. I have an 18-year gap between myself and my youngest sister, and I was always wanting a brother as well. My mom is 9 of 10 in her family, and there is I believe, a 18 or 20-year gap between her and her eldest brother. In fact, I have a traditional Latin Mass missal that was given to me on my first communion by my grandmother that was originally given to my uncle as he left to go to university in the same year my mother was born. So that's kind of gives you a bit of the dating on the on those age gaps, and I'm really glad they kept going because I wouldn't be here.
Poor Chowdy, hating the brother that never even got a chance to. And the last but not least, rare and mysterious whiskey bottles found washed up on beach.
Empty, of course, right?
We'll get there. I didn't even read it. I just looked at the headline. Man and his dog found 11 full bottles of whiskey nearly buried in the sand.
And why would you tell anyone that?
A whiskey river wasn't on Austin C's mind when he found an ocean of it, a Prohibition era stash to be exact, washed up on a New Jersey
would
beach.
You tell anyone this
while he was walking his dog last month? Even for a guy who doesn't drink, it was a rare find. There it is.
Yeah.
He doesn't drink.
Then you find your only close friend that drinks, and you go, "Hey, I found these 11 bottles of whiskey. Do you want them?" Yes, I do.
Prohibition era.
Tell nobody ever.
And it has made it an even better story to tell. And the history, this is him quoted, the history behind it is part of the mystery and really adds to the allure. Austin C., 28 years old, a Coast Guard helicopter rescue swimmer from Northfield, New Jersey, told Fox News Digital he had just gotten off a 24-hour duty and decided to take his fuzzy sheepadoodle, Coda, for a walk. Okay, I don't care about these things. Take him for the beach every day. I don't care. I was throwing away. Tell me about the whiskey.
This reminds me of there was a story a few years ago. This like Buffalo Trace employee, I think it was Buffalo Trace, was he was stealing bottles of allocated whiskey and like selling them off market. And it was like he had like racked up like $500,000. I don't remember all the details. Whew. But the whiskey was all seized by the state, of course, as evidence. And then because it was evidence, it was all destroyed. And it was like, you could have auctioned this shit off. And I mean, Buffalo Trace does charity auctions of their like high, upper tier Eagle Rare, Weller, Blanton's, E.H. Taylor and stuff. They do charity auctions because it's hard to find those bottles. Like you could have just charity auctioned that shit off and then donated the money to orphans or something instead of just pouring it down a fucking drain because it's evidence. The crime has been prosecuted. We have all the evidence we need. Yeah. Sell this shit.
Jeez. So he said this guy was playing with his dog because he talked about it for like 4 freaking paragraphs. And said his dog forgot about playing and became very focused on whatever was in the sand. I thought, oh man, it looks like a bottle of pee, he said. Oh, thanks. So I was yelling at him to get off of it. And then maybe 5 feet ahead was another one. And as soon as he got off of that one, he ran up to the next one, started rubbing on that. After Coda discovered a third bottle,
Austin does not deserve this dog.
I know.
He has a whiskey sniffing dog and he doesn't even drink it.
They were pretty much at the surface, and there was like a ton of conches and shells and all types of other debris on the beach that day. And then, yeah, basically his dog was doing all this. And then he learned, he did a quick internet search. He learned that Lincoln Inn was produced at a distillery in Montreal in the 1930s, and that the company went out of business in the 1970s. He said, dude, there's really not much info on this, but it looks like it's really old. And then he said, definitely keep it and find out more. And that's... yeah. Then he went to them about the bottle. Then he went to bottle collectors about this. He's not talking to whiskey people. And that's why I wanted to bring it up to you, because this is just a waste.
Yeah.
And it's like,
there's this whole aftermarket thing where they like buy these super expensive bottles and then resell them and they never crack them open. It's like, this stuff was made to be drank. That's why it exists.
And apparently because of the fact that the bottles were still sealed, and the whiskey was relatively at the same level in each bottle, the liquor inside is probably still good. The ocean temperatures usually don't get anywhere near 70 degrees. So even at the bottom of the waters in New Jersey, still good. Still could be drinkable. Nothing.
Never tell us all. If I find 11 bottles of whiskey on the beach, no one will ever know.
And he's like, exactly how the bottles of whiskey ended up in the water remains a mystery. Apparently, bootleggers used to bring it down to about the Jersey Shore, and then small boats would take off from the Jersey Shore, and they would pick up the liquor. And I guess the boardwalk was pretty much a hot spot for rum running and stuff during Prohibition. Yeah. And if any of us intend to try it, I don't think it'd be me that opens it. opening it and then seeing it empty or even half empty kind of detracts from it. Even if it's a great whiskey or something, I don't think I'd appreciate the whiskey itself nearly as much as I appreciate the story and how it got here. So it's just going to sit on a shelf.
What a cuck. What a cuck.
It's just going to sit on this shelf.
I appreciate the story. Suck a dick.
And that's...
Here's the story. I found nearly 100-year-old whiskey on the beach, and it was delicious. There's the empty bottle.
And I gave a little to my dog as a thank you.
As a thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Coda. So that's the news for today.
Well, that takes care of our news segment, but it doesn't take care of keeping the show going and paying for its expenses. And if you want to help us do that, you can visit us at patreon.com/HWIDG, which stands for
Here's What I Don't Get,
which is the name of the show. And over there, we have 2 tiers. We have the $1 tier, which is just a way for you to say, hey, thanks for doing the show. We appreciate it. Keep doing it. And we appreciate that support. And then we have our $5 tier where we do bonus episodes now and again.
We put one out recently. Was that for February?
Chaco and I did an episode in February, and I am talking with none other than Tim the Handlebreaker about getting together to do one this month.
Whoa. Yeah. All right. Well, so if we don't have time tonight, you guys can, or you can get double bonus. We'll see.
Yeah, we might be a double bonus. We got to figure out timing because I got like a crazy rest of this month.
I'm looking forward to hear another Tim update.
Yeah, we haven't heard from him in several months, so I figured people would want to see how he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it's a great way to support the show, and really appreciate everyone that has continues to support the show and has supported the show over the years. So visit us there, and we really, really appreciate it. But let's get back to some issues, shall we?
We shall.
And actually, I do want to go take a break real quick.
That's fine. That's probably a good idea.
I'm going to pee and get more water.
Yeah, we'll come right back. had to put the squirrels back on. That song's a banger.
Yeah.
I had to. I could sense you coming. I could hear a little bit of rattling going on back there. So I was like, all right, now it's time for the squirrels.
Tripped over something over here. Glad I didn't
injured?
twist another ankle. No.
Well, I don't need you going down with another ankle injury.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I want to apologize in advance here. I know these like stupid, lame, like early 2000s YouTube's Bono looking glasses, but I've been having such sleep problems lately. I got some like blue light blocking things that like there's like I've got like the three screens as I talk to you. I've got this big light here. So I'm like, all right, I want to actually sleep right tonight. So I figured I'd throw on these to hopefully.
Yeah, my reading glasses are blue light filtering.
Smart. That shit's poison. Blue light. All right. Do we want to like clap to give you a signal?
Should all be still synced up. The files all timestamp themselves.
Oh, it's not about syncing up. It's just so that when you're doing the editing, it's easier to find.
I'll just look for the silence.
That works too. Or you look for the song. This squirrel song will show up, I'm sure.
It doesn't. The videos that StreamYard plays don't download.
Really? I guess so. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. All right.
I don't know why. It seems kind of silly. It'd be really nice if it would, because then it'd be nice because then I could like
play the Rhinestone intro.
I think we have the Rhinestone intro. I think there's a
Rhinestone outro.
There's a bell in StreamYard, but it won't.
Okay, well, let's just like, how about what we could do in the future is we can put them in. They won't show up, but we could put them in as assets at the bottom, like a present. That'll show up. That music will show up, right?
That's why I have the soundboard as a like a third participant.
Let me see what I'm gonna see if I can find the outro, the Rhinestone outro on my end here, and then I'm gonna have that queued up so that maybe it shows up when we're playing the song at the end.
That should because then if it's a screen share from you, it will download the audio.
Yeah, let's see if I can find that. We haven't really officially started back up yet, so let's just I think it's gonna be my Hot Choco out stuff. I might be in there. All right, we're just about there. Let's see here. Like maybe there's a rhinestone. Did I have a rhinestone? Like what do I have as a wedge? Okay, let's see. That's sign off. No. Okay, cigar logo. Oh, these aren't gonna help. Unbelievable. Where did I put that? Outro. You've got to be kidding me. No way. Okay. All right. Well, I don't have it here. I'll find it another time.
Yeah.
We'll do. Yeah.
Cool. Well, here's what I don't get. Forcing your mark. Too many times people come into projects and they just like have to make it their thing and put their stamp on it and be a part of the thing instead of letting it come naturally or waiting. Take a deep breath. We all get set in our ways, the way we approach problems and the way that we think things should be structured, and sometimes we're right, oftentimes we're right, but you can't just walk in on day one and be like, I'm the new sheriff in town, I'm taking control, and this is the way everything's going to work.
Didn't we talk about this like when like we were kind of reformatting, like getting used to working with each other, and I called it getting your shit in? Is it sort of like getting your shit in?
It's kind of like that, but it's more of a just making change for the sake of change because you think it'll be better, as opposed to So I've been in kind of a management position of slowly escalating levels for the last several years, and one of the things that no one ever told me that I kind of wish someone had told me years ago was to just kind of wait, give it 2-6 weeks or something, and see how things work in the method that was laid out by your predecessor.
That's usually a good idea.
Your predecessor did this, it kind of worked, and then you take small incremental changes over time, and then you slowly make it your own. And instead of just being like, we're doing
Clean
things my
house.
way, and it's my
Yeah.
way from here on out. And because what ends up happening is it just builds resentment with the people underneath you, the people parallel to you. I'm very fortunate in my current job in that within about 3 months of me starting, 4 months of me starting, my direct report was replaced, my assistant and my boss was replaced in this window. And so there was very little time for the status quo to take a hold. And then my assistant comes in and he's got ideas of the way things should be, and I have no investment in the status quo because I didn't really participate in any of it. So we made changes that were maybe a little more drastic than they needed to be right up front. But people got kind of used to it more quickly with not to become a political podcast, but like Trump's stuff right now, he's just like taking the weed whacker to everything, and they're so proud of themselves. They'll be like, "Oh, we found $20 million in inefficiency," and then it turns out that it's like, actually, we actually do need that. Maybe we shouldn't have just like thrown this shit away. So the USDA, I think it was, or FDA, someone just ended up. They basically put everyone on paid leave for a month, and now they've hired everyone back. So instead of saving anything, they just burned a month worth of salaries because of the way things are set up. And it's like, on the one hand, I am 100% on board with firing every single fucking government employee. I don't want them just fired from their job. I want them rounded up and put into camps and then slowly loaded onto Falcon X heavy rockets and fired right into the fucking sun. I'm 100% on board with that because those people are stealing my money. But like the few things that government does need to do should maybe be done. And figuring out what those things are before you just start setting everything on fire might be a little bit better than just coming in to make your little fucking mark and do your thing. Using up resources that are like shared or finite in in the way things are is I've seen so many people come in and just be like, okay, at my old theater we did it this way, so we're going to do it this way now. And it's like, yeah, that's great. But that doesn't work for this theater because we're like we have 7 venues in this space, and we have to be able to track things between all 7 venues, and so it's kind of difficult to treat it as if it's one venue because it's 7 venues, right? One of them is a 2,500 seat house, and the others don't seat 2,500 total. So it's a great idea that you think that we should all kind of work all the spaces evenly. But that doesn't make any fucking sense because one of these spaces needs a lot of support because it's huge and it does a lot of big shows. And the other spaces kind of don't need that much support because they're small and they're doing little small community shows. And if you took fucking 10 seconds to take a deep breath and realize that, you realize that the reason why we're structured in the way that we are kind of makes sense. But no, I'm going to come in. I'm going to come in and show that I reduced the budget by changing the way you guys work and cutting your overtime. And it's like, that's great. I really appreciate that. That's a huge amount of my salary every year. And also, all of my overtime and hours are paid for by clients being in the space. So actually, me working is a income stream for your company, not an outgoing stream. That's a place I used to work. Fucking doing things like reorganize every single time a new TD gets hired. They want to reorganize the shop in a new way. And then you got to go look and try and figure out where all the shit that was in one spot has now disappeared to the new spot. And it's like, this is getting extremely tedious to the point where like my space doesn't have a shop, but we share a shop space with another department. And it's like, you know what? I kind of want to go back to the way things were when I first started, where my theater just had all its own shit and you guys had all your own shit. And that was it. Which felt very small and petty and unproductive, which is why we combined forces several years ago when I started, because again, lots of people were replaced at about the same time and we didn't have any love of the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, I just need the shit that I need on a regular basis to be where I left it, because I'm really tired of it not being there when I need it. And you know, so like my job now, we made a lot of changes over the years. You know, one of the first big ones, they had this big wooden A-frame ladder for focusing lights that was a fire hazard and dangerous and a fall hazard. And I took great joy in chopping that thing into little fucking splinters. I did not do it in my first week there. I think I did it in like my third or fourth month.
Yeah, you gotta wait a bit.
You gotta wait a bit and be like, yeah, what if this thing wasn't here? And then it was all chopped up, and it was a couple months before anyone was like, hey, whatever happened to that big A-frame ladder? Like, well, I chopped it into I took I think it was like a 20, it was probably like an 18-foot A-frame, and then it had this big stick that came out the top that could get you up to like 27, 30 feet, somewhere in there. And I chopped it down to fit into a 55-gallon trash can.
Perfect.
Little tiny chunks. And it's just like, yeah, that thing has disappeared, but it hasn't really affected our productivity in any way.
Well, and you had enough time to be able to assess it properly, and at least with an authoritative eye to it, you could say that, you know, I decided it's time to go with this thing. And you can do that with an authority because you're not just jumping in and just doing whatever, right? So
I that's one of the two things I hate are when people say this is the way we've always done it, and this is the way we did it at other places.
Yeah,
because
dude, I've had that at so many jobs where like have you ever had it where you worked? Did you ever work for like a chain?
Yeah,
or like a big franchise of some sort, and then they do the like musical chairs of the managers, and they move them around. And it's like maybe your location has potential, but some like and another place that fixed another place comes to your place and fixes it. But then sometimes like you're the good place and your good guy goes to the other one and you get the crappy like Dance of the Lemons thing.
Yeah.
I hated that thing. I hated that because like I used to work at like Future Shop, which is like a Best Buy of Canada before it was bought by Best Buy. And I used to get commission. And like, I actually got to a point where it was fun to come to work. Mm-hmm. Like we had a vibe, everything was good. And then like this manager who trained me and taught me how to sell and like was like awesome got moved. Like all of a sudden we just showed up one day and he's not there. And the guy they brought in was like a short man syndrome cokehead asshole who was just like a horrible person. I was going to say horrible human being, but I don't want to get like, you know, called out for you know, like the millennial call. But it's like he was awful and so bad that I couldn't stay working there anymore. Well, I moved, but still, it was so bad. It was so bad that I actually wanted to write like a pilot for like a television show based around like a shitty job, because there was a genre at the time of like shitty job movies and shitty job shows. But it was all because he came in and he changed everything up and he made everything suck. And it was all because this is what he used to do at this other thing. And like, apparently his other location, like he got really good, but it was like, no, it was just a good location. And that's what ended up happening. I'm glad you brought up the Trump thing, because like in Canada, we just got appointed a new prime minister who doesn't even have a seat in parliament. And the Conservatives, who I don't like either, their whole thing was, we're going to axe the tax. We're going to get rid of the carbon tax. Right. Yeah. And then this other guy comes in and like his first order of business, he goes, oh yeah, that thing that you've been promising once you get elected. Yeah, you're right. We actually don't need that anymore. And he just got rid of it. And it's like, it was that easy, huh? Like, it was just that easy. It's totally like a ploy for the election coming up. But on the other thing, I pointed out to my wife, I'm like, that they're making up that like lost revenue with all the tariffs they're charging on all the US goods that are going through Canada and stuff like that. Like, there's a way. And it's just like these people that come in and he's like, I just capped you with like that major thing that was like your major issue. Yeah. I just did it first day. Don't even have a seat in parliament. Just did it. And it's like this weird thing because you're like, who are you? Like, I don't even know what you're all about. Like, what is this? What is going on over here? And then new boss, same as the old boss. He's already fighting with Trump. I don't know. Did you see that thing I sent you? There was maybe I didn't send it to you, but like Trump today was quoted as saying that he prefers the liberals to the conservatives. He doesn't even like the conservative guy. He'd rather deal with the liberals. And I was like, man, you really want Canada to like go bankrupt so you could just like take us on if you want. Yeah. It's going to happen. It's just this weird rhetoric that was not in any. Do you remember anything about Canada and Greenland in the lead up to the election?
It was very much, there wasn't a lot of expansionist stuff, but now
you guys are acting a little bit weird. Like, not you guys, but like your country is acting a little bit weird. And I've always defended the United States, like always. But right now I'm like, I don't like this. This ain't good.
See, what I think happens is people get so concerned about like leaving a legacy. What are they going to leave behind when they leave here, that they like jump at anything that is a chance for them to just have done something.
And
it's like, people don't really remember what you've done. They kind of remember like the kind of person that you were, and the legacy that you're going to leave behind is not, I changed the way all of this stuff is stored, or I got rid of the carbon tax and replaced it with tariffs. It's going to be like the quality of person that you were to the people around you. And so this need to just like change everything on day one, treat it like turning an aircraft carrier. Those things don't turn on a dime. You got to like slowly course correct over time until you kind of veer back into the vector that you want. Because if you go trying to go too fast, your underlings will turn against you. Your overlings will see that things aren't working. It's like, it's this very delicate balance that has to be found. And then, when you do leave because you found some other place that you're going to jump ship and ruin, or because you get fired because they decide that you're really fucking intolerable, you're going to be remembered not for the good that you did, but for like kind of just being a cock. I told the story on the bonus episode about, this show. I'm designing a show here in a few weeks, and that I went to the production manager and I was like, I'll design this show for free. Here are my terms. And I was told flat out that the director was looking for like a non-binary minority person to do it. And it's like, it turns out that wasn't true at all. And it was like, oh, this person was trying to make things more diverse by
saying that they were going to do that,
as opposed to like how's
that not illegal, by the way? Like, I can't deny a loan, but like I can't deny a renter, but I can deny a job. Like, what is that?
Yeah, in college, I remember being sent a job listing by one of the professors in my program, and it was for a sound design for a show, and it was like, black designers will be given preferential treatment was basically the line in there. And I emailed him back and I was like, there's no point in me applying. Even if I was the best sound designer in the world. And I was like, that is technically discrimination. I guess
not only that, but I wouldn't want to work for anybody who put that in.
That was like, kind of what it came down to on that like, specific one.
Go fuck yourself.
But yeah, it's just like, whatever your opinions on diversity, equity, and inclusion are, you can make choices like that based on, what works in the moment, and make efforts to be more inclusive, not just be like, you want to work for free? Fuck you. Don't have the right genitals or skin tone. Like, awesome. I did con my way in by now becoming a blue-haired lesbian, so get fucked. But it's just I really I hope that what I'm remembered for is telling people that they shouldn't burn themselves out with their employers, and trying to make listening to feedback and making things better slowly. It's not a fast process. You can't just go changing everything all in one day. And you think about it, like life is like McDonald's, right? They introduce a few new menu items here and there, and then it's like, oh shit, you know what is really big? The McChicken. They didn't just jump into, hey, we're doing really good on hamburgers and the Big Mac. What if we just like fucking did chicken sandwiches too? Like they did chicken tenders for a while. They try things, they see what works, they go. That's the other part about leaving your mark, is so many people get like they're beholden to their own ideas, right? And so they can't admit when it doesn't work. I go, oh yeah, we introduced salads at McDonald's. We're killing it. Like, well, we just keep throwing away lettuce every week because no one wants a fucking McDonald's salad.
And then what was the name of that guy at NBC who fired Norm Macdonald?
Yeah.
And he's like, he's just not funny. I was like, no, it's because you're friends with OJ, and he makes a lot of great jokes about OJ, and that's why you got rid of him. But he wanted to make his mark. He wanted to,
Star Wars, great example of this. Kathleen Kennedy, wanted to make the Forces female and do all these things and like make it this new woke franchise. And the result has been that they took a beloved franchise, and everyone says that hate is the opposite of love, but it's not. The opposite of love is antipathy. Like, people just don't care about Star Wars anymore. They like, sure, definitely went through a hate phase, but then it's just like, hey, there's a new TV show on Disney Plus. It's the most watched TV show in the history of TV shows. Just like, okay, cool.
It's funny, like,
watch it.
So the last Star Wars thing I had actually watched was Rogue One.
Yeah,
and I was on the show talking about that. That's how long ago that was. And we were at an Airbnb, and a lot of times when we go to an Airbnb, they got like Netflix on the TV, or they got like Disney Plus, and I will never pay for any of those things. But if somebody signed in, left in, it's like, well, it's your fault.
Check it out.
And so I finally got to see The Mandalorian, like the first bits of it's actually pretty fun.
The person DeLorean.
Thanks, Trudeau. And actually, we call it human DeLorean. Anyways, yeah, it was good. But the point was, is like, I'm like, dude, I'm watching this thing that was like, I don't know, what was that, 2018, 2019? Yeah. Like, and then I also know I'm like, I'm going to hate it after the second season. Like, so I'm not even going to bother.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I'm going to watch it as if it ended at the end of the second season. And I know there's a movie coming out, and I don't care. And you're right. Antipathy is the same thing in that thing that I already burned my reference for. Right. Like, if I go out in the thing that, puts us that the thing that I already referenced is fucking wrestling ring. Okay. It's like, if I go in the wrestling ring and I do in a promo and everybody's dead and not like, there's no reaction, then that's far worse than either direction. Like, even if I'm trying to be a good guy and you're booing me, I can work with that.
Yeah.
But if you're dead silent, it's like, I should get out of the business. Like, that's weird.
Yeah, but Kathleen Kennedy made her mark. I mean, this era will never be forgotten. It will be remembered.
It's irreversible. You could bring back George Lucas. You could clone George Lucas from the 70s.
Yeah,
and he's got the same brain and the same. His muse is still alive, and I still wouldn't watch it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, so there's with Star Trek, there's a talk of they kind of uncannoned the Discovery stuff with a clip in the animated show that they have, and it's like I don't care.
You can't uncanon things. That's a problem. I don't like uncanoning things.
If they came back and they were like, we need all the Discovery stuff, because they kind of did that with the JJ Trek stuff. They're like, yeah, it's a different timeline. You can kind of ignore it. And if they did that with the Discovery and all the modern Star Trek stuff, it would still be a stain on the series. It'd still be a stain on the franchise. Like, Alex Kurtzman made his mark. He took this beloved franchise and just turned it into slop because he has no muse, he has no life experience. All he is a writer that just churns out garbage.
Paul Feig.
And Paul Feig is another great example. And because there will always be like these box sets that have that fucking movie in there, along with the other 7
Even if
terrible
you don't include it,
movies.
I still know it exists.
Yeah, and you can't get it out of your brain.
Nope.
And even like, so Star Trek's a good example because there's Wikipedias for fucking entries for every single fucking background extra in the world. And when you're looking at them now, it'll be like, you're reading in line, and then I'll be looking up something that I'm trying to remember the exact details of, and then it turns out that they referenced it in one of these modern shows, and there'll be a section I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I'm reading, and then the little citation will be one of the modern TV series. I'm like, God, they fucking tricked me again. And so even if they uncannoned all this modern stuff, it would be like the entry would be about Ensign Selena Gomez, and it'd be like, she's in this episode of TNG and this episode of TNG, but then alternate universe, she's in an episode of Picard and an episode of this and an episode of that. And
I bring in alternate universes as an issue? Has that been brought up? You must have brought up alternate universes.
Probably not.
Okay, next episode. I'm calling it ahead of time. I'm bringing up alternate universes.
Nope, no alternate universes.
All right, yeah,
but
buckle up.
It's just, it would have been so easy. Kathleen Kennedy had just the perfect, pitch, and she could have just knocked that fucker right out of the park. Just make Star Wars movies like they made Star Wars movies before. Make one every couple of years. Maddox is a great fucking example of this. All he had to do was one YouTube video a week, one article a month, one book a year, and he could have just lived a comfortable life being an asshole artist. But he had to like reinvent himself because he had to change the way that he looked as a person and make a mark on himself.
Because he moved to LA, right?
Yeah. And be this, like, I'm going to be this thought leader, and I have to like stick to this facade that I've created, and I can't walk back even an inch of any of these to the point of insanity. It's just like, you need to be able to admit you're wrong. You need to be able to read the room before you go, shooting your shot. And you need to like understand that, not everything works out every time. And these people just aren't good at it. And I don't think it's something that you can like, maybe it's something you can be taught. Maybe something someone can tell you, but it's going to take a while to internalize. But I feel like there are so many people out there that just want to like be remembered and have a legacy. And it's just like, doing it at work is not the way you get remembered. The way you get remembered is by having kids, raising them well, and then having grandkids that like come into your house. That's how you fucking get remembered.
Totally. Well, This is the thing. Like, look even at this show, right? Okay, look at this show. So started by me and Buck, and went for a while. Handed it off to you. You had to take it on and kind of figure out where you fit in the universe of this, and then Buck went out, and then he brought in Tim, and then over time, like, had you come in and be like, we're going to change this, we're going to change that, and we're going to and this is the only way I'm going to go about doing it, it would have ground to a halt right off the bat. And then when you brought some of us back on, right? Like, we were kind of like following your lead, and it was like a little bit like figuring it out, but it was like, there's a format there, but like there's variations in the format, and you were able to kind of like, this is the Tab Burt show, right? Yeah. So this is the thing. Like, it's been the Tab Burt show for, like you just said, we're at a nice round number of 375, right? And like, it has been that way for a long time, but you didn't force it that way. It just gradually got that
happened over time. Yeah.
Yeah. Like 99% of the like audience is here because they came in during the Tab Burt era, which is the whole thing. Like, if you really look at the beginning of it, it's like just a prelude, so
yeah, we're renumbering all the episodes.
Yeah. So we're going to decanonize 1 through 22 because, that Chaco is not this Chaco. That was a different timeline.
That's a different timeline. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different timeline. And then we're going to keep the Buck issues of that timeline, because they do fit with the later Buck timeline. So it's a little complicated, a little messy.
It's the first Buck Splinter timeline that we can, we reference it. It exists for Buck prior to episode 23, which is now episode 1.
Yeah, it's like when I look at my Bible and the different like Psalms numbers are in there, because like in the newer translations, like the numbering gets off. And so it's like if I see a thing, it's like, you got to read about Psalm 91. And it's like, well, is that your 91 or is that my 90? So like you have to kind of put a caveat on that. So, we could call it 1B for one, like episode 1 Buck, but then because we're renumbering, it would be real complicated. And but we'd have to do it because we have to force our mark on it.
We do. We have to force the mark on it.
Force the mark. Good issue.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been bothering me the last week or two because it's just like the Glass Studio. We're now on like the 3rd studio director since I've been there, and it's like every week I walk in there and the shit is just not where it was the week before, and I'm like, I'm making me lose my mind. The fact that I have to go like hunt for paddles every fucking week. And if you're gonna change something, I'm fine with it. I realize I'm a renter. It's your studio, but send an email. Hey everyone, by the way, moved all this shit to a new spot. Please put the shit back in its new spot. Awesome. I now know this. As opposed to me walking around, I'm trying to get set up. I get there an hour before I'm supposed to start. I'm trying to get set up and I'm wandering around like a chicken with my head cut off looking for where my shit goes. So it's so frustrating.
Well, it also is like a sign of a person who's like a controlivore, just people who just need to be in control of everything. It's like, just go with the flow. Just go with the flow. Yeah.
Ask people, hey, what works? What doesn't work?
Just as a total aside, I found the file of the outro with Rhinestone, so I will put that on for our outro song.
Yeah. Well, we're right there. So this has been Here's What I Don't Get. I'm Tab Burt.
I'm El Chaco.
And we'll catch you guys next time.
Ciao, ciao. And just give me 1 second because I didn't have it loaded up right then and there. I found it, but I have to put it in properly. So give me 2 seconds here. And of course it's alphabetical. There we go. And it is under Which. There we go. Editing this part out. You're not going to edit this part out, and I'm going to sound like an asshole. Where are you? Come on, you're right there. I had it in
St. Louis.
I just wish I could drag it and drop it, but it opens up another thing, and I have to scroll and find it. There we go. All right.
If you want to call into the Here's What I Don't Get hotline, call us at 704-750-9434 and tell us what you don't get. Or you can visit us in the Discord under voicemail upload. I got to figure out which computer I'm looking at.
Next time I'll have that loaded up and then just like drag it up and like pause it and then have it ready to go.
Yeah. We got 3 voicemails this week.
Nice.
Hey guys, Death here. Excuse me, a little behind on episodes. Project that I was working on recently. I ordered some new LED low beams because I cannot see jack shit at night because I work at night. And, it's either take off the entire front grille of my truck or go under the fender liner. So I'm like, I'll go under the fender liner. Shouldn't take too long. 3.5 hours later, it's the wrong fucking bulb. The bulb doesn't even fucking fit. I tried in the high beam, the low beam, even the fucking turn signal. It didn't fucking fit. The entrance for it is about 1/4 of an inch wide. And these headlights that I bought are, I want to say like 1/2 inch, maybe 1 inch around. What the fuck?
Well, actually, Deadhelm, he has a Ford, and I think Ford puts a weird collar on their light bulbs. Or maybe they don't put a collar on their light bulbs, and the aftermarket ones, you can like pop the collar off and then lock them into the Ford non-collared thing.
No,
or maybe they're just the wrong fucking ones. But yeah, I guess that's in response to the Project Slippery Slope. Oh man,
brutal.
I climbed up. So we had like this crazy rainstorm on Friday, and it was like a 20-minute rainstorm. But I got into the theater on Monday, and there's water all over the floor with like concrete dust soaked into it, which wouldn't be a big deal, except I pulled out our dance floor. It's like rolls of this Marley dance floor, and laid it out on the deck because it stretches and contracts with temperature. And we're laying it down. We laid it down on Monday, and it's not getting pulled up until like mid-April, or even late April. Yeah, it's going to be like beginning of May. It'll get pulled, so it's going down for 6 weeks, and it's better if it's like acclimated to the space before you lay them down. And I have a way of laying them down that I learned from working with ballets for years, to kind of make it work better. It's still very time consuming, but it works, putting my mark on things. But walk in, and this thing is covered in, it's stained. It's actually like physically stained. And I think it might have like eaten a little bit of the ceiling layer on top. So now we're talking about like potentially having an insurance claim to replace these things.
Oh dear.
Which they're not cheap. It's like $2,500 a roll.
Ooh, how many rolls?
It'd be 2 rolls were damaged. But we had to lay them down because we've got this like string of dance shows. So we cleaned them really well, and then we like pulled them back and found the water that was underneath, and like the floor absorbed a bunch of it and is bubbled in places, and it's this whole fucking nightmare. I was just like, well, this little like quick Marley lay turned into this all day affair. Project Slippery Slope. But then today, because it rained Friday, I was like, I'm gonna climb up on the roof. I've got the day off. I'm gonna climb up on the roof and make sure the gutters are all clean. So, because it's spring, we're gonna get a lot more rain, make sure everything's outflowing correctly. I climb up on the north side of my house because my ladder is stored in the basement. So I go out the basement door, north side of my house, climb up, clean the gutters. North side of the house is easy because there's a flower bed right there. So I'm just like throwing shit into the flower bed. I'm like, this is going to fertilize that stuff. South side of the house I just throwing it on the ground. But as I'm cleaning, I discover there's a big hole in the side of the house into the attic. And I'm like, okay, that sucks. And then I work my way down even further. Second bigger hole. So I took photo. I ended up going back down, taking the ladder around on the north side of the south side of the house, and taking pictures of them and sending my landlord. I was like, this is going to be like a multi-day thing.
Yikes!
I guess it looks like they never painted the piece of wood there, so it's in direct sun all the time, and it dry rotted, and then the squirrels cut through it to get into the house.
Well, the squirrels, they saw it from the outside like you would in a video game when there's like a one part that's like not the right color, and so basically like there's like secret loot behind there, and they found it clearly.
Yeah, so Project Slippery Slope hit me again.
Oh man, you got
another one.
That's what I don't get. People who can't do their fucking sound checks. We've been at this bar for 20 minutes, and all we hear is fucking feedback. It's horrible. It's the most horrible noise on planet Earth.
Oh, you went to a Dwight Yoakam concert. You went to a Dwight Yoakam concert. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I saw Dwight Yoakam in Calgary, and that's my. No, it's not going to show up. That's my Dwight Yoakam hat. And I had to leave after, I think, 3 songs.
Yeah.
Because Dwight Yoakam, as talented as he is, doesn't like to do sound checks. And so it was like sitting in a lumber mill. It was just, it was so noisy and grindy and terrible and loud. And I remember going up to the sound guy and I was like, dude, what the hell is this? And we're leaving. Like I couldn't stay. It was the only concert I ever walked out of, and it was brutal. As a sound guy, as a theater guy, how would it make you feel if you were at a concert you paid for and it was unlistenable?
Oh, I have told the story before. I was at a music festival. This was when
the Crash Test Dummies would never do this to you.
They might. I was at a music festival in college, and I had a friend who was playing on stage, and the sound guy was not doing a good job, at all. And so I walked over to him and I said, "Hey, do you mind if I?" And then I just kind of like stiff armed him and slid in between him and his soundboard and started changing levels on things.
Did he fight you, or
Nope.
did he just let you?
No, he just let me do it, and I got it kind of dialed in a lot better. And then I walked back to where I was standing and listened for a minute, and walked back over and adjusted another couple things. Then I just turned him and said, "Don't touch anything." And
he was probably just like somebody's like little brother that should have been there.
He was someone. I ended up talking to him after the set was over, and he was like, I just got hired to do this. And I was like, well, that was wrong.
You shouldn't have been. Yeah.
The next week, my friend who was playing in the gig, he was like, "Hey, did you go mess with the sound guy during our set?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Was it our third song?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was the top of your third song." He was not doing a good job. And he goes, "Yeah, I could tell."
Well, sound, man, it's like a big deal when it's like really off. It throws everything off. Like we had a show where our main speaker wasn't working, and so they had another speaker on the ground, and we had a whole sequence that like we had the microphone. Nobody could hear a thing we were saying. You had to shout, but the guys I was working with, they didn't know to shout. And so like I could see it, and I was like, shit, like nobody's reacting. And these are the punchlines of the thing. And like I just started moving the thing away and started shouting and like hoping like, guys, pick up on what I'm doing. And like, no, it takes the microphone. I'm like, they're gonna lose half the story. And like it's awful when the sound goes out. It's brutal. It's brutal. We got a third one?
Good on you for being prepared though to shout during it, because I have this problem all the time where people think that microphones are magic, and you can just like put a microphone up in a room and you'll magically be louder, and it drives me nuts.
Most of the time I don't like having the microphone, honestly, because at a certain point I'm like, no, just let me shout, just like, when it works great, I can definitely do a lot more with it. Cause like I can emote more, and I can be more of a.
You can work your dynamics. You can.
Yeah, I can be like, no,
come in here. Come in.
Yeah,
here.
You
can be like, I will kill all of you and destroy your entire country.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But in a babyface way, which I have to start practicing.
All right, I've got one last one.
Hey, Deadom here. Can I go ahead and re-clarify what I was saying earlier, because I had a mouthful of cereal and I sounded like an idiot. In the quarter, I can't even say it now. Excuse me, let me restart one more time. The hole for the low beam light is about a quarter of an inch in diameter. The pair of headlights I bought to replace that low beam are about half an inch or about an inch in diameter, so they do not fit within the headlight housing. Save period.
Yeah. Extremely frustrating.
Yeah, it is. Brutal.
Yeah.
Was there any other from the other thing, like the call-in thing, or is that all from the Discord?
I didn't see any in the Discord this week, but let me double check while we're sitting here. Nope, looks like the last one was from Jay back in February.
All right. Tidy. Yep. Liking it. I'm starting to feel it. I've been up since 4:30 this morning, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pull off the bonus this time around. But if you do the Tim thing, that'd be great. If you can't, we'll work something out to make sure we get a March thing in.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So
until next time. Yeah. 375 in the bag.
In the bag. Another good one.
Yeah. So thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you guys next time.
God bless. Ciao, ciao.